...2023 was a really crazy year for video games, and I mean the good crazy. Personally, I played so many games that I loved in 2023, both new releases and some older titles. So as 2023 has come to a close, let's go over my top 10 games that I played in 2023. But before we jump into the list, let me lay out a few of the ground rules. First off, these are games that I started playing in 2023. Second, as the title suggests, some of the games on this list are not 2023 releases. It's just the way that I play games. I'm not always able to play the new releases when they come out, and I'm always playing catch up on older titles. Also, I won't be spending too much time on each game, as I do plan on giving all these games dedicated videos. So I'm just going to be explaining what I really enjoyed about them. Anyways, enough with these rules, let's get into the games. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this one either, but here we are. Now, I wasn't always the biggest fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, but somehow my opinion shifted. Over Christmas break of 2022, my brother bought the entire FNAF collection on his Switch, and I kinda just blew it off. However, for his birthday, he got the VR version, and let me tell you, I had a jolly good time watching him play FNAF in VR. Because of my general curiosity from the VR game, I decided to test it out on my brother's Switch, and yeah. I quit the game the moment one of the animatronics moved. One of the aspects of FNAF that my brother wouldn't stop talking to me about was the incredibly complicated lore. Now, if you thought Kingdom Hearts' lore was convoluted, try watching a FNAF timeline video. So, begrudgingly, I sat through Game Theory's multi-part complete FNAF timeline, and I actually found it very intriguing, and I got really into it. So I finally decided to try the VR game, and while it definitely frightened me, I enjoyed the complex design of the game and its different mechanics. After enjoying the VR game, I played the first and second game on stream, and that actually went pretty well. If you want to see my full reaction, go back and watch the stream. It was pretty funny. So yeah, to make a long story short, I really enjoyed getting into the lore of FNAF and its interesting gameplay mechanics that set it apart from other horror games. Just for the record, FNAF 4 still freaks me out, and the movie was pretty good too. This year, I was finally able to devote more time to one of my favorite video game franchises, Final Fantasy. Yes, I know you guys have probably gotten sick of me constantly talking about these games, but I just can't help myself. I've always been kinda intimidated of retro JRPGs. Just something about how vague and difficult they are kinda warded me off. Thankfully, Square had my back and released the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection on modern platforms, except Xbox. The Pixel Remaster collection includes Final Fantasy 1 through 6, and I was generally really excited to have these games release on Switch, so I could give them a fair shake. I, of course, started my retro Final Fantasy journey with the game aptly named Final Fantasy. I was blown away by how good this game looks. I've always believed that pixel art is a great art style, and more games need to try it. I also appreciated the battle system and how snappy it was. Some battles felt like they took seconds, and although the game is still very vague on where to go next, I really enjoyed how the game encourages exploration and talking with literally every single NPC. I found that despite my preconceptions, the game wasn't too difficult. I mean, some bosses were kinda tough, but I enjoyed the amount of challenge that this game gave. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the first Final Fantasy game, and look forward to the rest of the Pixel Remaster collection. Sticking with Final Fantasy for a little longer, I want to talk about a game I put more time into than I'd like to admit. That game is Theatrhythm Final Barline. One of my favorite video game genres are rhythm games. I freaking love rhythm games. Beat Saber, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, and the Persona dancing games, they're all my jam. When Final Barline was announced, I was pretty excited because not only do I love rhythm games, but the Final Fantasy series has such incredible music. When I got my hands on the game, I was addicted. I was very impressed with the extensive track list, as the Final Barline pulls music from close to every Final Fantasy game, mainline and spin-off. Hitting all the notes is super satisfying and very natural feeling. Almost like once you get into the flow with the music, it all comes together.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Overall, I had a really great time with Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, and I even jumped back in when the Final Fantasy XVI DLC songs dropped. If you're interested in my full thoughts, I do have a video on Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, and it will be linked in the description and at the end of this video. There are only a few indie games that I consider to be 10 out of 10 masterpieces. One of them happens to be Undertale. I was immediately sucked into Undertale with its incredible writing. I don't think I have laughed more at any other game than Undertale. This game literally takes its humor to the next level. I was also really engaged with all the characters and how well written they were. Sans and Papyrus are literally me and my brother. I was also intrigued by how the story changed based on your actions and who you decided to kill and who to spare. The combat was also very interesting, as instead of taking your turn then getting hit, each time you're attacked it's like a little minigame. I appreciated it as it added another layer of strategy to the combat. I also appreciated the runtime of the game being around 5 hours. I know it may seem short, but it makes it nice for repeat playthroughs, which the game does encourage. Overall, I absolutely loved how fun and unique Undertale was, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, the repeat playthroughs. Now, for the other indie game I consider to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. That game would be Stray. After booting up Stray, I was immediately taken in by its beautiful yet unsettling world. Stray's story is not conveyed in a traditional sense. The game primarily focuses on telling you the story through the environment. This is called environmental storytelling and is something that I really appreciated in this game. A lot of what happened in this overgrown, rundown city, you have to put together yourself through the many different areas you explore. The exploration in this game was incredibly interesting. Because you play as a cat, the way you interact with the world is very different and unique. If this game could be described in one word, it would definitely be unique. Even though most of the sections in this game are fairly linear, there are a few city areas that open up and allow you to interact with the robot NPCs. This game is also fairly short, so taking about 5 hours, which isn't a deterrent, as you'll definitely want to play through it again to pick up on details and collectibles you missed. I was also really impressed by how lifelike the cat you play as is. Overall, Stray was an incredible gem among indie games. The incredible attention to detail in the world and the cat are a true sentiment to great world building and storytelling. A little warning though, it does get a little emotional towards the end.
Yeah!
Quite honestly, Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably the most recent game I finished on this list, but boy, did it not disappoint. I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is a controversial game. Some people love it, others hate it. I'm with the ones who love it. I thought the game was a good conclusion to the Darkseeker saga and tied up a lot of loose ends from the past 20 years of games. And of course, it wouldn't be a Kingdom Hearts game without also giving us more questions to ask. Among the story, I also really enjoyed the Disney World selection in this game. I thought they were all really well designed with lots of detail and areas to explore. And let's be honest, sailing your own pirate ship in the Caribbean is freaking awesome. I also love the inclusion of Pixar-based worlds with the Toy Box and Monstropolis. The combat also got a huge glow up, and I personally think it's better than the combat in Kingdom Hearts 2. All of Sora's physical and magical attacks feel super satisfying to pull off, and once you really get a hang of the mechanics, you can pull off some wild stuff. Overall, I really enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3, and even though it didn't do everything right, I still think it's a worthy conclusion to a 20-year-old saga, and I really look forward to it ushering in a new era of Kingdom Hearts. I will be patiently waiting for Kingdom Hearts 4. Hopefully it will come out before I turn 30.
Wowie zowie!
2D side-scroller Mario has been in a state of blandness for the past 15 years. The new Super Mario Bros. Subset of games has been the dominant form of 2D Mario. That was until this past October when Super Mario Bros. Wonder was released. Now, up until Wonder's release, I haven't really had a problem with the new Super Mario Bros. Games, as I had grown up playing them. That was until I played Wonder, and holy cow, is this game amazing. I was immediately entranced by the gorgeous art style. The game is just filled with vibrant and interesting colors. The levels and game mechanics are all a breath of fresh air. Every level I played, I experienced something new and exciting. And that's not even taking in consideration the Wonder Flowers. I absolutely loved the Wonder Flower mechanic, as it genuinely had me guessing what crazy scenario I was gonna get tossed into next. I also appreciated how tight and precise the controls and physics are. Mario feels as satisfying as ever to run and jump around with. Oh, and I can't forget the major inclusion of the badge system. The badges made it interesting to experiment with the many different ways you can go about tackling the levels, and I appreciated some levels making certain badges mandatory, as it got me to shake things up and try new abilities. Super Mario Bros. Wonder feels like the long-awaited creative return to the 2D Mario games. This game is bursting with personality and fresh new ideas. I am extremely excited to see where 2D Mario goes in the future. Oh, and by the way, the singing piranha plants are literally my favorite part of this game. Final Fantasy XVI could be considered a step in the right direction for the series. At least, I personally believe so. I had a grand time with Final Fantasy XVI. The dark fantasy world is definitely a departure from the more romanticized sci-fi fantasy settings of the previous games, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I liked the dark, gritty, and violent tone that 16 employs throughout its plot, and the plot here is definitely a highlight for me. I was extremely invested in the journey that Clive and his party sets forth, and I was drawn to the unique and well fleshed out cast of characters that 16 includes. The combat in 16 was a huge part of the game I thoroughly enjoyed. The combat feels so stylish and satisfying to pull off. The icon abilities that Clive possesses also help to encourage experimentation within the combat, as well as make the encounters hecka crazy. I don't think I can talk about the combat of Final Fantasy XVI without mentioning the giant kaiju battles that unfold throughout the storyline. These icon fights made me feel exhilarated and powerful. Just participating in these huge battles with grand set pieces was like I was in a Godzilla vs. Kong movie. The world of Valstia is also heavily detailed with dense forests and sprawling sand dunes, which made exploring on foot very interesting. Oh, and the music is simply wonderful to listen to. The epic orchestral pieces lend themselves really well to what is happening on screen. Overall, I think Final Fantasy XVI fits really well in the Final Fantasy series and was one of the games I spent the most time with this past year. Seriously, with DLC included, it was like 121 hours.
I'll reveal your true form.
If you could describe Persona 5 Royal in one word, it would be style. Persona 5 Royal was one of the most insane games I played this past year. Pretty much every aspect of this game made me enjoy it more and more. The story and characters were the part I loved the most about this game. The story was mysterious, mature, and well-paced. I was immediately invested in the plot by how well it was written. The conclusions for each of the palaces in the main plot were executed fantastically. The quirky cast of characters kept me intrigued with the day-to-day downtime in between palaces. I fell in love with the entire main cast of this game. Each one of them has their own unique personality, which makes them a blast to hang out with during their social link quests. When the whole group is together, that is when the real shenanigans take place, as they all have their own quirky quips about each situation. And while it might not seem like all their personalities don't blend well together, I was actually surprised by how well all of the characters fit together as parts of the Phantom Thieves. Persona 5 has quite possibly the most satisfying gameplay loop in the entire JRPG genre. I cannot express how satisfying the combat in this game is. Hitting enemy weaknesses and gaining another turn from them to finally wipe them out in a single turn was just so addicting. The explorable dungeons called palaces were all excellently designed. I also appreciated how everything you did in a given day mattered and had some way of impacting your party in the metaverse. And believe it or not, the menus were even satisfying to navigate. And of course, it would be a crime to not mention the outstanding soundtrack in this game. I kid you not, every song is a banger. From overworld music to battle tracks, the music from this game has found its way to become one of my favorite soundtracks in all of gaming. To wrap it up in a bow, I really enjoyed my time with Persona 5 Royal. The story, gameplay, characters, and music all resonated with me, making Persona 5 Royal one of my favorite games I played this year. As my most anticipated game since its announcement in 2019, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is nothing short of a masterpiece. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom exceeded every single one of my expectations. I'll do my best to condense my thoughts on this game as I have a lot to say. First off, I want to mention how different this game feels. Well, yes, I know we are technically exploring the same map from Breath of the Wild, but the devs put a lot of time into making sure the world still felt as exciting to explore as it was the first time around. Many areas and locations have had something added to them to make them feel different. I thoroughly enjoyed re-exploring Hyrule and comparing between Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. On top of the revamped Hyrule, we also got to explore the sky and the depths. The sky was very interesting to explore. There are many different ways to get around up there, and hopping from island to island solving puzzles is super fun. The depths was the inclusion that shocked me the most. For real, I was not expecting them to add an entire underground to explore. The depths, when you first enter, are completely covered in darkness, which made exploring a pretty daunting task. While it is challenging to explore the depths, it was still a very interesting part of the game, considering you have no idea what you'll encounter down there, which made it one of my favorite parts of this game. I also could not stop messing around with Link's new abilities. The Ultra Hand is absolutely insane, letting you build whatever you want with the materials around you. The one I found the most useful though was the Ascend ability. Gone are the days of climbing up stuff. Now, I just zip through ledges like it's no big deal. I also enjoyed the fact that the temples made a return with their unique boss fights. Now, even though I did like the divine beasts from Breath of the Wild, they did get pretty repetitive, so having more traditional temples is appreciated. The plot is also super nuts, but also kind of predictable, which I'm not putting as a fault because Ganondorf in this game felt like a formidable foe. And of course, there were the epic moments that the series is known for. And much like the rest of the franchise, the music does not disappoint in this game. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was more than worth the wait and blew me away with how much content was packed into this game. I was also able to grow closer with some of my good friends through this game, so it also holds some sentimental special meaning to me. All of these reasons and more is why The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite game of 2023. Thank you all so much for watching. 2023 was an amazing year for gaming, and I'm hoping 2024 will be just as great. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite games of 2023 were. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, be sure to crush the subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified when future videos drop. Well, that's it for now. As always, I've been King from Kingdom Studios, and I hope you all have a legendary rest of your day.
How does it feel to be in flight? What fate's so certain? How can it change a thing if you're right?